Hey guys, Paul here, and this is another video update for Void Destroyer 2. So what's been going on? It's been a kind of a weird month. I've been trying to do this. Several items related to the Skybox and noise, dust, particles, things like that. They are kind of sort of working out. It's a bit of a process where I'm not really good at these types of things, these sort of more artistic type of things. There's points where I think that it looks good. There's points that I think it looks horrible. There's a lot of back and forth, tiny little tweaks, of very little change. But it's sort of this sort of part of the process, the game development process. But basically, I've been working on several things at once, and there's been a bunch of little distractions in my life lately, and that kind of contributes to not actually like finalizing one particular element that I was working on. For example, I've been working on the early story, doing tests with old assets from Void Destroyer, porting them into Void Destroyer 1, seeing how they look, and they look pretty good. And at the same time, I started working on this sort of improved Skybox system, which is what I'm going to showcase today. And hopefully this is not the final product, because there is some work being done, some contract work being done to improve an element, to kind of change an element. So hopefully this isn't the final product here, but this is sort of like on the way there. But to kind of highlight something that I did here. So I'm going to undock. Here we are. All right. So one thing you might notice right away is that the Skybox is quite a lot different than the normal fairly bright blue. Skybox is this darker shade of blue. You might also notice that there's a lot more dust everywhere. A lot more dust, and also these sorts of clouds, which become a lot more apparent when you move. They sort of fade in, they fade out. So there's quite a lot to talk about, all these different things here. So I'm probably going to try to keep it short. I'm going to turn off some of these elements just to kind of show you the different aspects. So here under gameplay, we can turn off space dust points, space clouds noise. Turn that off. So now we're left with pretty much what you might remember from the game, except for the different Skybox. So let's talk about the Skybox first. So this is a darker Skybox, and it's got some artistic flair to it. It's made by me with the help of this free-to-use Skybox creation tool. So basically, it's made by this Skybox creation tool with my help, I guess you could say, a little bit, in a more precise way. So what I'm trying to do here is to give players more of a choice of Skyboxes, making the game look a little bit more like the usual space sims look like. Just giving player choice here. So here we see one of the Skyboxes. I'm going to fly somewhere else. Let's see, let's fly to the Palm. Let's take a look at one of the other Skyboxes at the Palm. These particular ones are the factions. So the military faction has a green Skybox, the civilian and other factions have blue. Pirate factions have a red Skybox, kind of which you're familiar with the other sort of standard skyboxes, except they're a little bit more artistic, as you can see. They're a little bit more traditional, quote unquote, as far as what players tend to expect from space sims. So that's one aspect. Now let's dock. Let's see what choices we have. Toy Destroyer 2, if you're not aware, lets you choose different skyboxes here as upgrades. So here's Gentle Ripples. This is a pretty basic skybox. Just toggle some other ones. There's the pirate one. There's the mining one. There's the standard blue one. So let's go ahead, let's install this one. Let's undock. Again, it's color coded to the factions, so this one is green. So this is kind of what you might be more familiar with if you play the game. This sort of skybox makes the outlines kind of stand out a lot more. But still, it's another choice for the player as far as different type of a skybox. Let's go ahead and dock again. Here we can go ahead, we can remove it. We can go ahead, we can install Dark Space. Dark Space is meant to give players a really dark skybox. Sort of fairly low-key dark skybox there. There's I think 3 or 4 of these that they sort of alternate. You can't really see the outline shader doing its magic as well here. But it's just meant to give the players additional choices. So if we fly somewhere, let's fly to the Mining United base. I think that's the same skybox. It's actually based on randomness, so we can just hop in and out. I believe that's the same one, though I'm not sure. Let's try to get another one in here. Still the same one. When you don't have that many, there's another one. There's sort of like a yellowish one. So much darker than the usual skyboxes, but again, designed to give players the sort of a choice how they want the game to look, versus me, the game developer, dictating the choice. Of course, we can go and install the standard one. Okay, so I had the game crash, so that means I still have to work out some bugs with these new changes. So let's go ahead, let's remove this guy. Let's install the standard box. So if you want the game to appear how it used to appear, you can still have that. You know, when I do changes, I tend to try to leave what was there behind. Let's fly somewhere else. Let's fly to the Lion to get our classic blue skybox. There it is. There's probably the skybox you're familiar with if you played the game before, like a pretty bright blue, and you can see the outlines really well in this. So let's go ahead, let's dock and just quickly look at this other skybox here. Cloudly Space is sort of an in-between skybox where it's not as dark as Dark Space, but still pretty dark. A little bit of flair to it. Let's go ahead and let's be without a skybox here, which is how we are right now. Let's go ahead. Let's undock. So this is the new standard, and this is probably temporary. Maybe just to get kind of player feedback, see kind of what happens. But let's toggle those options we turned off earlier. We're going to toggle space dust points on. And let's toggle it off again. Whoops. back on. You guys see the difference? Let me move because it's more apparent when you actually move. You see all these little pieces of dust everywhere? Kind of there, kind of there. When you move, they pop in, they pop out. They're designed to help the player get a sense of motion. I can kind of highlight them better if I toggle into tactical mode. Maybe it's not super apparent, but it might be one of those things where you need to play the game to kind of see it. But there's all sorts of these dust points all over just to kind of give you the feeling of movement. In Space Sims, when you're along something else, you get a nice feeling of movement. Like for example, right now, I'm flying along this huge base here. But when I'm just flying in empty space, it's a lot harder. Whoops. Like right now, it's a lot harder to get a sense of movement, and those points are there to try to help with that. They sort of appear. Like there's one right there, and it fades out when you get close to it. Moving sort of helps. And I can increase these and I can decrease these, so there might be some more tweaks that need to happen. Let's go ahead. Let's turn on Space Cloud's noise. And now you see that certain spots are a lot fuzzier here with these sort of clouds that you can fly through. They sort of fade in and out, again giving the player sort of a sense of motion. So combined, I hope that they have this sort of a nice effect of giving the player a sense of motion. And I hope that these new skyboxes give the player sort of a choice, you know, how they want the game to appear. I'm trying to think more along the terms of accommodating the player as I go more and more towards release. I think, you know, the big fans of Void Destroyer 2, the die-hard fans, the folk that just love the game, you know, they love it despite its flaws. And for that, I'm very, very grateful and happy. You know, I appreciate you guys so much for that. You know, the game has certain flaws and things like that. Or maybe we should say I have certain flaws. And the game is sort of a reflection of me. But you guys love the game despite of that, you know. But there's people that just need a little bit more of a gentle nudge to get past certain things, to appreciate the game. And these skyboxes are sort of a help for those persons to love the game more. So let's go ahead, let's dock. Let's install a different skybox. Dark space. Can potentially see the dust a little clear now, and the clouds a little clear. So this initially started where I was trying to have a completely procedural skybox, and the color would vary based on where you are, the intensity would vary based on where you are, especially along where the sun is, your distance from the sun. And that's still a goal, and I hope to still get there. But through all these trials, I thought I had it, and then I started experimenting with the colors, and some colors worked, some didn't. For example, the blue I think worked fine, but the green for the military really didn't work too well. The sort of light blue for the bounty hunters, that didn't really work well either. The orange worked okay for the mining faction. The red worked okay too for the pirates, but I couldn't quite get it. So that's something I'm still working on, but I want to show you guys what that looked like. So we can be sort of kind of on the same page. Alrighty, so I did some changes to the code. So this is what you're seeing right now is this sort of a procedurally generated skybox. I can go from like a very basic one like this to ones that are far more complex and more layered and things like that. And I can change the colors via code. I can basically generate an infinite amount of these of various complexity, from very simple ones like this to far more complex ones. I'm not going to demonstrate all the options here. I just wanted you guys to see a sort of a procedurally generated skybox. If you notice, there's no stars. The stars are a different layer. So that's kind of interesting if you think about that. So there's a noise layer, that's the thing in the background, and the stars layer that you would see in front. You can actually use a noise layer for the stars, which is kind of interesting, but kind of getting off tangent here. So I tried using this method and the points and the stars. Let's look at that. Alrighty, so here we see the stars, the points, and the dust clouds. Let's just fly through it to kind of trigger them. They're pretty subtle, which is actually how I like them. You can see them flying by. It might be hard for you on YouTube. So this is kind of sort of the goal. This sort of procedurally generated skybox. And again, it sort of works for the blue, and I even like it for the blue. But other colors are a lot more problematic. It's kind of funny because simple colors don't work too well. It's something I found out. Certain ones work okay, like blue, for example. The sky is blue, so dark blue, that works fine. Light blue, I think, works fine too. But green, yellow, really light blue, those kinds of colors really don't work too well. So I kind of had to give up on that. So we'll see. But I wanted you guys to see this. So there's a lot of fiddling involved, a lot of changing parameters, running the game, seeing it, tweaking something, seeing if something works with something else. Just kind of this sort of a strange sorts of almost a weird trance-like type state where you're just constantly experimenting with these, only to kind of almost like give up and say, oh, it doesn't quite work. So still working on this. I have another method that I'm exploring with a contractor that I hope will work. So we'll see about that, but you're not really going to see this in the game yet. You're going to see those different skyboxes, the dust and the sort of white clouds. These are blue clouds here. So yeah, guys, that's what's been going on. Again, this is sort of process where it's very time consuming on my part, and the results are kind of, unfortunately, they might be a little underwhelming. If I was working on missions or game mechanics or new weapons or things like that, I'd would have more to show than this, which is kind of a bummer. It's kind of this aspect that kind of weighs on me heavily. But still, this is pretty important. This is pretty fundamental to how the game looks, especially important in trailers, which of course sell the game, which are seen by games media and YouTubers, which are like super important, of course, to a game's survival. How it sells in this really tough market, which of course then is what determines sequels, DLCs, other craziness like that. So very important stuff. But at this stage, it's kind of sort of defeating me. We'll see what happens. I hope that this contractor works out, and I can show you what what I've been dreaming of, literally dreaming of. Some of these elements came to me in a dream. It's kind of funny, I think. More on that later, I hope, guys. I hope there'll be another video coming soon with another type of a skybox, procedurally generated, trying to show, you know, the game through the player's eyes, the sort of unique perspective of the player, you know, being sort of a half robot, half human cyborg, you know, seeing the world in a different way, just kind of portraying it, merging that with the game world, things like that. That's what I'm dreaming of to show you guys. So, as always, thank you very much for your support. Appreciate it greatly. Thank you for the great reviews. Thank you for the bug reports, for your feedback, for all the great discussions. Thank you, guys, and I'll talk to you later.